So, fine, we start. Good morning to all of you here from Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti, New Delhi. We have joined together with the Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, Srinagar, to a very, very important and interesting lecture that we are going to organize today on Gandhi and peace education. A very important subject in the present context where there's so much of issues of conflicts, issues of tolerance, so on and so forth. Peace education has become an extremely critical area. Also, it is important to ensure and to see, to negotiate some of the challenges that we face in today's. We need to see how peace education needs to evolve from the traditional mode to look and see to be more interdisciplinary in its approach, to be more multidisciplinary in its approach, and to see how it becomes more dynamic, to be able to respond to some of the new contemporary context and the issues that are in vogue in the present contemporary time. In that context, this whole lecture is going to be of extremely importance. We have today, we are very thankful to the Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, Srinagar. We have had a number of programs with this Institute of Education. We are in good touch. Quite a number of students have done some internship, and we hope to continue this association of Gandhi Smriti with the Institute of Studies in Education in the times and days to come. And Principal Madam is already there with us, Professor Ruhi Khan, who is a specialist in child psychology. She has more than 30 years of working as an educationist, as someone who has been teaching teachers who go on to become teachers in their respective fields. She has immense experience and she has been very dynamic to give new ideas for both ISE and also Gandhi Smriti to work together in to open new vistas on different areas of peace and Gandhian approaches. So thank you, ma'am, for agreeing for this lecture. And this is, in fact, as we say, this is going to be a series of lecture with the IASC that Gandhi Smriti plans to organize. And the moderating the session today will be Professor Fazi Ilahi, and he's the coordinator of the Gandhi Studies Center of the IASC. And Dr. Ilahi has been working in very closely with us and with new ideas, new things. And whenever we have been approaching him to ensure that his students also take part in various other programs, he has always responded very, very positively, and we are really happy that we are starting these e-lecture series today. So for the first e-lecture series between Gandhi Smriti and IASC, the Gandhi and Peace Education, the lecture is to be delivered by one of the most versatile Gandhian scholar in the country today, Professor Vidya Jain. She has been a guiding light for Gandhi Smriti. She has been a mentor to us. We have the CSC faculty and the students will know many of their students have been taking part in various of our international e-dialogues. Madam Jain has been the mentoring us and facilitating these international e-dialogues that we continuously have off and on. Professor Vidya Jain has been the principal of the Maharani College in Jaipur, Rajasthan, and in fact, Maharani College is one of the biggest girls' college in the country. Professor Vidya Jain is the convener of the Non-Violent Commission of the International Association for Peace Research, and she has been an erudite Gandhian scholar working on different dimensions of Gandhi and feminism, Gandhi and non-violence, with different approaches and ideas. She has written numerous books on the subject, and she has been an internationally recognized person on Gandhian values, Gandhian ethics. So it is great occasion for us to have Professor Vidya Jain with us. for today's lecture. And Professor Elahi would be moderating today's session. So may I now request Professor Elahi to take over.
Thank you, Vedavas ji, for just painting an overall picture of how we are collaborating and how we have been collaborating for the past 1.5 years or 2 years. And we have done many programs together. Now, I would request our Madam Principal, who has been our support each time we have conducted any program with Gandhi, Smriti, and Darshan and other programs. So I would request her to just come up with her welcome address. Madam Principal, Dr. Ruhi Kant. Ma'am.
Very good morning to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure that today, once again, we are organizing an e-lecture on Gandhiji, whose teachings are most important and relevant in present day. For this, first of all, I thank Gandhi Smriti and Darshan for collaborating with Gandhi Study Center of Government College of Education, Srinagar, and for organizing this talk on Gandhi and peace education. We know that Gandhian concept of education is based on all-round development of personality. When he says, I quote, that by education I mean drawing out the best in man, body, mind, and spirit, which means that Gandhiji does not lay emphasis only on the physical development and the intellectual development, but also on the spiritual development as well. Basic education, which is also known as Nai Talim, was the base of educational practice as propounded by Gandhiji in 1937. The principle of non-violence is its foundation, and through it, Gandhi wanted to develop the qualities which are necessary for building a non-violent society. According to Gandhi, a curriculum of religious instruction should include study of the tenets of faiths other than one's own religion. For this purpose, the student should be trained to cultivate the habit of understanding and appreciating the doctrines of various great religions of the world in a spirit of reverence and broad-minded tolerance. The study of other religions is very important because besides one's own will, that will give one a grasp of the rock bottom of the unity of all the other religions. Gandhi can serve as a valuable catalyst showing us to rethink on philosophical positions on violence and education. His peace education offers many possibilities for dealing with short-term violence in its long-term preventive education and socialization. Key to Gandhiji's peace education are his ethical and ontological formulations of means and relations, the need to uncover root causes and causal determinants, and to free oneself from entrapment in escalating cycles of violence. So I don't want to stand anymore between our participants and speaker for today's e-lecture. I once again thank and welcome our guest speaker, Professor Vidya Jain. convener, Non-Violence Commission, and International Peace Research Association, preparing time for us. I welcome her in the session as an expert. I also welcome my students, my faculty, and other participants for joining us today in this program. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for being our support and for wholeheartedly supporting all our programs that we keep on organizing. Thank you very much. Now,
you.
I request our worthy speaker for today, Professor Vidya Jain, who is the convener, Non-Violence Commission, International Peace Research Association. And she has been a great advocate of peace. She has donned many hats, and she has been, you can say, speaking about Gandhi and his ideas, particularly about peace, on at different forums. She has been, you can say, writing about Gandhi, as already, you can say, informed us by Veda Basji. Now I request our worthy speaker to begin her presentation, her talk on Gandhi and peace education. Professor Vidya Jain.
Thank you, Professor Eli. Namaskar. Am I audible?
Yeah, quite audible.
Okay. Thank
okay.
you. So my greetings to all of you. Principal Madam is Professor Ruhi Kantji. She is the principal at the Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, Srinagar. Our moderator and coordinator at Gandhi and Peace Studies Center, Dr. Fazal Elahi Saab. I greet the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Hussain, however in absentia. My dear friend, Dr. Veda, who and a young scholar, he is doing a lot of work, very good work at Gandhi Smriti. I have been watching him since last 2-3 days and with close associate, and he's really working very, very hard. And I greet all the members who have joined this webinar. Feel so privileged and happy to be part of this series. And as I'm told, this is the first lecture in the series, and we look forward for many, many more lectures like this, So friends, as Madam Ruhi Kant and Veda also already informed us, that we really need discourses and dialogues and interconnectedness like this, because we are going through toughest time of history. And I believe that connecting with each other and deliberating on important issues will open the path of understanding and put us on the path of solutions. We have to make a road on which we can walk together, travel together for a better, brighter, happier, and peaceful future. As we all know, the education is enlargement and enlightenment of mind, as well as stimulation of physical, intellectual, and moral faculties of any student. Education should focus not only on qualities of head, but it has to focus on qualities of heart. Gandhi says that education enables us to become a good human being. Education is a tool of widening horizons of knowledge, sharpening of critical abilities, as well as character building, which is the most important phenomenon in any Gandhian sketch of education. Education is not merely, collection and assimilation of data and information, but it is much, much more than that. It should touch and mold our heart, our soul. And when it starts touching or molding our heart and soul, or our basics, our ethos, our values, it becomes peace education. Gandhi can serve as a valuable contributor in this sketch of whole, peace education scenario. His theory of peace education offers many possibilities for dealing with short-term problems, but its greatest strength is in its long-term educational scheme. Key to Gandhi's peace education are his ethical and ontological formulation of means and relations, the need to free oneself from entrapment in escalating cycles of violence like the one which we are witnessing in our ages. For Gandhi, peace education is a means for the establishment of a society based on equality and justice. And that is only possible when a self-regulated, self-disciplined, and ethical individual is designed. So here I want to say that the main focus and emphasis of Gandhi is on designing of a new individual, of a new man or a new woman. For Gandhi, education is a constant and eternal process which ceases only in death. And there is always a hidden student within us, and there should always be a readiness to learn every day. As I have come here to learn from all of you, because education is not a linear or a vertical process, it is a circular process where we learn from each other at everyday level. Gandhi was himself a great learner, a vivacious reader. Yes, read all the literature available in his times: Tolstoy, Ruskin, Thoreau, Jainism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Gita. What kind of reading he has not gone through? And even on the day of his assassination, he was learning Bangla language. So there should always be a readiness to know and to learn and to critically analyze things, whatever come in our way. So when I'm asked to speak, just to throw a few points before you, and I would really appreciate if we can have some question answer session or some dialogue, because as I said, I'm not here to just deliver or preach anything. You are already all of you are so aware. So let us just, I want to bring few points before you. What are the highlights of Gandhian scheme of peace education? The first and the foremost, as I said, Gandhi believes that all solutions lie in individual, and that we know, you can bring all kind of systemic changes, all kind of legal reforms, whatever you do, but unless you address this individual, nothing can be done. Be the change you want to see in the world is the most catching line which has attracted the attention of all intellectuals all over the world. Pratham Purush ek vachan tusse hi shuruaat hai. So beginning lies in me. So Gandhian thought really emphasizes on this redesigning of this individual. Gandhi, when he says, so he wants to create an autonomous, a free, a sovereign, a swadeshi, a self-reliant individual who is moral, ethical man. And for that, he really gives this whole sketch. For Gandhi is freedom of individual, because he is a thinker who is just anti-colonial. He was not only fighting the British imperialism, but he wanted to get rid of all kinds of bondages, all kind of slaveries which we are undergoing through. So Gandhi emphasizes this whole. Gandhi says, I will rather prefer to die if I am unfree. So freedom is the highest value for Gandhi, and Gandhi wants to create this free man who is fearless. So fearlessness or courage is another, talent or another character of any individual which Gandhi visualizes. Gandhi says, I shall not fear anybody on earth. I shall only fear God, because we are sons and daughters of one God. So here is the basic equality, because all free and fearless individuals are really equal. So Gandhi creates an individual who is all powerful, all enlightened. He has a great conscience, a great vigor to fight any attempt made on her or his chastity, honor, or dignity. And for that, Gandhi gives a long 11 training vows, which you all must be knowing. Gandhi talks of this: truth, ahimsa, untouchability, courage, non-possession, non-taste. all these values are so important for Gandhi, when he says non-possession, because Gandhi thinks that possession makes me unfree, it captivates me, it makes me prisoner of material beings. And as uh, uh, Principal Madam said, Gandhi's main emphasis is not on body or physical or material things, because Gandhi believes that we are not only bodies, we are much more than that. We are hearts, we are intellect, we are soul. We want a stout soul instead of having a stout body. And that is why Gandhi gives the whole principle of non-taste, aswad. I have to eat only to just to sustain my body. So he wants that we should have control over our palate, over our senses. That is why he gives the principle of celibacy. So here is a man who visualizes an individual in form of beyond, his bodily greeds and needs and everything. He wants to create a man who can really fight out anything. So he talks of non-taste, he talks of non-stealing, patience, communal harmony, vegetarianism. Gandhi himself was a strong and strict vegetarian and a vegan too. So these all important 11 woes, I think, are very, very important to be understood, because here is a man who is created, who has this, who understands this importance of truth, ahimsa, courage, harmony, living in harmony with each other, living in harmony with nature, with environment, with by oneself is very, very important. So this moral man, which is emphasized by Gandhi, which has these qualities of heart, through peace education, we have to inculcate these value, because this is very true, because we have seen, there are several incidences when we, like if I talk of, violence against women, we have several laws in this country, strong laws to which can protect women, but nothing is happening. The episodes and incidents of violence against women are increasing day by day, because the legal reforms, the systemic reforms, the fear of law, court, nothing can stop this criminal, because until and unless you try to understand why this violence is happening, until and unless you create a strong, courageous women and a sensible man, these incidents cannot be stopped. So Gandhi wants this sustainable individual can be basis of this sustainable society. An ethical individual would be the basis of this ethical society. So qualities of heart and also qualities of hand. And look at our education system. It's only targeting the brain, the information, and that is all. But Gandhi wants that there should be skill education, there should be, and there should be education which empowers my spiritual and my religious and ethical needs. So there Gandhi proposes that there should be radical changes in this education system. Education system should incorporate, which is very true, because I have been associated with university teachings and colleges for more than 40 years, and I know how formal, how technical, sometimes irrelevant things we are teaching, which is not bringing the change which is desirable in a student's life. So Gandhi wants to incorporate education of human rights, of environmental studies, security disarmament, conflict resolution, communication, on which mediations, on which Dr. Veda Vyas is working, media awareness, world citizenship, global citizenship, all these should be incorporated in our curriculum. So this education should be a holistic process, it should be an eternal process. The education should have this, potential which can bring the student out of school walls and takes him to the communities. So coming from school walls to community life, there should be a linkage between curriculum and community partnership, because as we all know, just teaching and preaching and reading is not enough until unless this education is put into action. Gandhi was a man of action. So there should be a partnership between curriculum and the community. And we know, all of us are teachers, we know there are several things of which outreach programs like NSS and so many things which really connect the student to communities, which is again very, very important. So because for Gandhi, these peace educators, these peace teachers, these peace students are the peace soldiers. They would be change makers. And if you are a change maker, you should have an ability to question the dominant patterns of exploitation, the dominant patterns of hegemony, the dominant patterns of violence. So when I say peace education, it means the peace education gives me enough courage to question whenever there is justice. Gandhi is the first man who tells me to rebel, to question, to come up and ask why there is injustice. Gandhi gave me the tool of satyagraha, where I can always ask for my own rights. I can just go and sit before a biggest system and say, where is justice? Where are my rights and what's happening to it? So, if I'm really, a champion of peace education, I should have the courage to question the so-called established patterns of dictatorships, patterns of exploitation, and this would really bring that change for which I am aspiring. The So immediate goal of peace education is to inculcate in the minds of men a broader identity, and of course to go beyond my self identity and my self interest. But the long term is to restructure the world, to rework this world on the lines of Gandhian values, which are freedom, equality, fraternity, justice, harmony, love, peace, and ahimsa. So these are immediate can be a building up of a man who has his own identity and courage, and who has an ability to look and see beyond his own identity. But the longer impact of peace education is to restructuring, revisualizing, reworking on establishing a just society. Second thing which I want to bring here, that as we have to understand that these, enlightened and empowered individuals, they live in a peaceful, harmonious coexistence with each other. And we know that we live in a peaceful coexistence manner. We are not independent of a total whole. So because we are an earth community, we are an earth democracy, we are interconnected through the planet web of life. Ideal society is built brick by brick, community by community. Life is not a pyramid but a circle, ever widening and never ascending. So we have to understand this interconnectedness between you and me. I'm reminded of one liner of Gandhi, which is very near to my heart. Gandhi says, I am therefore you are, and you are therefore I am. We peacefully coexist. I'm not independent of you. And this peaceful coexistence is not between individuals or among individuals. Even birds, animals, rivers, mountains, ocean, we are all interdependent on each other. So because you are born as a human being, you have no right to encroach any spaces. So diversity in culture and in nature, we are diverse. We are diverse people, we are diverse cultures, we are diverse ecologies, we have diverse interests. And this diversity in nature and in culture has to be defended. It has to be flourished. It has to be taken care of, because all species, as I said, have a right to sustenance. They have a right to food. They have a right to water, safety, clean habitat. This whole world does not belong to human beings only. And we think because just because we are, born as human beings and we are wiser and whatnot, we think this whole world belongs to us. We have done this mistake. And see the coronavirus, it is just the outcome of that foolish thing that we try to, think that the whole world belongs to us. So living economics, which is the local economics, which is the Swadeshi, has to be valued, which is very, very important. So peace education underlines globalization of not of goods, not of capital, not of wealth, but globalization of care and compassion and peace, which is very, very important. So sustainability, simplicity, believing in that, earth has enough to fulfill everybody's need, but it has very little to fulfill anybody's greed is very, very important. And Gandhi has given this, that how we can really understand that we have to believe in this minimization of needs is very, very important, because nature has limited resources which are unrenewable, whether it is water, whether it is food, whether it is anything else, energy and all that. So peace education really underlies this belief in environmental studies. Gandhi was the biggest environmentalist, and that is why he talked of minimization of needs. Market is teaching us to maximize the needs, but Gandhi says minimization of need is very, very important. So when we say peace education, it has to emphasize this simplicity, this joy of giving, this joy of sharing. There are several movements going on all over the world which are talking of, voluntary poverty, voluntary simplicity, slow city concept. We have seen how much of competition, how much of accumulation. Now there is a time when we say that now let us come forward and think of those who are underprivileged, who are deprived, who have no resources. We have to believe in this sharing. So Gandhi talks of staying away from this artificial accumulation which is taught by market. Gandhi says that we should stay away from artificial interventions also, because when we will take care of ourselves, when we as individual, I will be so empowered and enlightened, I think I will not need artificial intervention in terms of maybe advocate, in terms of doctors, because by my own self discipline I can take care of several things. So peace education really emphasizes this sarvodaya, thinking of others, because whosoever is left in this thing, we have to take care of that. So when I say peace education, it is the total Gandhian philosophy put forward, taken to the students, taught to them in all forms of necessary thing. Because I think when we promote Gandhian values, Gandhian education, Gandhian studies, there would be a transformation in the mindset of students. There would be a change in their character, and that is why these students would become the peace soldiers, and would definitely lay a foundation for a peaceful and a just society. So at the end, I just want to bring a small manifesto of peace education, which says we should respect life, we should reject violence, share with others, listen to understand, preserve the climate, and rediscover the solidarity. These are the 6 important points. If we understand this, we have to respect life, reject violence of any form. We should learn to share, care, love, nurture others. There is lack of listening and making a dialogue. We have to listen to understand. And climate is utmost important. We have to preserve the climate and rediscover this solidarity amongst us. So I think I've just given a brief outline, and I really look forward if there can be some deliberation on this, and we can have some, question answers on this. Thank you so much for listening.
Could you just repeat the manifestations of peace education once again?
This is,
6
first
manifestations.
is, yeah, this is the manifesto of peace education. First is respect life. We have to respect life, reject violence, share with others, listen to understand, preserve the climate, and the last but not the least is rediscover the solidarity.
Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, and let us
Thank you.
look
all
forward.
day input
Thank
input
you,
and
Vidya,
output
Jan
process
ma'am, for
input
your very
and
enlightening.
operations.
Please mute.
Operation all day.
There are some disturbances from other sides. Please mute. Okay. So, Madam deliberated on various points on Gandhi about peace. She talked about Gandhi, you can say, addresses the individual before he would address the society. So it's all important because this is how your societies just make up, drop after drop, individual after individual. There is some deep going on. Thank you. So Gandhi begins from individual, and ultimately he would address the society as well in his various compositions of his philosophy and his thoughts. But he would begin from the individual, is what our ma'am said. So his education, the basic foundation of his education revolved around the spirit of the person. So he would never want our education to lose sight of that spirit, because today's education has got more commercial, it has gone more market based, it is more commodity oriented, it's input output kind of a factory system that it has come about now. But Gandhi would not want us to leave that kind of, we can say, leverage that would allow our education to take roots in our spirit. So, by education, as he said, I mean all round drawing out of the best in child and man. So, it's all round development. It's not the sectional development, it's not the piecemeal development, or it's not the development of one area or aspect of human being. It's development of all aspects of the human being, and it's ultimately rooted in the spirit. And Vidya ma'am said that today's education has lost sight of that kind of spirituality. Would that kind of spirituality be possible in today's education? It needs some kind of attention from educators and teachers. Ultimately, we have almost 163, 64 people on board, and all are teachers. Somehow they are connected directly or indirectly with education, and some are grassroots teachers. So we need to assess and evaluate ourselves whether we can just attend to that kind of spiritual connection that Gandhi was trying to talk about. So Gandhi has been an apostle of peace. He has been an apostle of non-violence, and at the same time, he always talked about peace that would come about through education. So education for peace is a kind of an initiative that goes towards peace building. So peace building is not just negotiating with parties, dissenting parties you are negotiating with. Peace would mean definitely that you would work with your children, and once you are, you can say, working towards peace, you are actually building peace from the grassroots, is what she again said to us. So peace education does not just advocate globalization of goods and commodities, because today what do we mean by globalization? We have globalized. So we are open economies as far as our globalization trends are concerned. We can just import and export commodities. We are doing commercial trade. But do we export and import trust? Do we export and import compassion? Do we export and import love? Do we export and import non-violence? And in present day times, we are just amassing wealth and arsenal, and we are even exporting arms and importing arms. So this is for waging war. So who is going to wage non-violence in the present 21st century? Because Gandhi was an advocate of non-violence. He would want India to export non-violence to other countries. He would want India to import non-violence to its own country. So again, our teachers would require to just take, you can say, cue for Gandhi and see whether we can make our children and our society non-violent. So at the end, what she tried to just emphasize or emphasize on was that there has to be some kind of minimization of needs. See, we would want to just, you can say, accumulate as much as we can, and we are doing it. And we are using education as a means of accumulation. People are just trying to just join medicine, they are trying to join law, they try to join teaching as a profession, but the fundamental point is how much I can accumulate more and more. And once you have this kind of an ideal, it puts pressure on nature. So Gandhi was indirectly an environmentalist as well, because he wanted that your needs should be kept at minimum. And if the world goes by this kind of an ideal, by keeping your needs at minimum, then it's possible to be an environmentalist as well. We can talk about environment for hours, but ultimately it's not going to lead anywhere, because we need to start from our own selves and see whether we can do it all. So at the end, she just wrapped up that Gandhi was a great advocate of peace. He wanted us to respect life. He wanted us to reject violence. He wanted us to share and care. He wanted us to listen to others before we speak and talk and before we interject. He wanted us to just preserve our climate, and he wanted us to connect with people. So it's rediscovering that connection with people and souls. That's what she ended with. So it was a beautiful, crisp, and on target lecture by our Madam Vidya Jain. So the forum is open for questions. If there are any questions from our students.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This question again, you can ask your question. Your name, your
My name is
your
Suresh Cole,
institution.
sir.
Yeah,
Sir, my name is Suresh Cole.
fine. Go ahead with your question.
Sir, I just want to ask, taking forward the words of respected Vidya ma'am and your words, whatever you have said, in present scenario, is this all happening because we have confined Gandhi to library books and intellectual debates only? We were not able to live Gandhi in our day-to-day life, being a father of nation. Hello.
Suresh ji, Suresh,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Suresh Cole,
You
ma'am.
you are absolutely right, and I totally 100% agree with this. It is very, very difficult to bring Gandhi into practice. None, neither our political leadership, nor our constitution makers, and nor we as a people and civilization are actually eager to bring Gandhi into practice, because it is Gandhi challenges me. Gandhi frightens me. It is very difficult to bring, I mean, to be true in honest in my whole conduct. It really challenges me every day. However, Gandhi teaches me, it inspires me, motivates me. Whenever I'm frustrated, I look back to Gandhi and think, no, I can do it. I can try my little bit at least. So if you are suggesting me that how can I adopt Gandhi in day-to-day life, I would be saying you, as individual, as a teacher, as a mother, as a friend, I can be Gandhian in my conduct. But if I look at the as at the political scenario, at the social scenario, I would rather keep mum. I would be silent on that. But as individual, there are opportunities. There is a Gandhi in everybody. There is a small Gandhi in you, in me. So wherever there is genuineness, there is goodness, there is Gandhi. So in that way, Gandhi can be adopted and uh, can be brought into your day-to-day lives.
Ma'am, good morning. This is Sumit, an in-service candidate and a student of College of Education right now. Ma'am, I totally agree with your statement, as Gandhi's education is on peace. And I think we can promote it more, being a teacher, by putting few points which I want to discuss here. Like we can deal with model kindness, empathy. We can repair the student instead of punishing him. We can create a democratic space, ma'am. We can start experimental learning. We can give a voice to the exclusion. We can discuss controversial issues so that we can continue with the Gandhi's peace education. Now said that every individual is a Gandhi. Every individual is a Gandhi. Hope, ma'am, I'm right. I'm not saying wrong. Because we have to do it on our own. हमें तो शुरुआत करनी पड़ेगी ना मैम. गांधी जी ने इतना बलिदान दिया है. गांधी जी ने इतना हमारे देश के लिए किया है. हमें
हमें ही
आजादी
करनी
दिलाई
पड़ेगी,
है.
हमें ही करनी पड़ेगी
बिल्कुल
और कोई
मैम.
नहीं करेगा।
तो मुझे
बिल्कुल
लगता है मैम
बिल्कुल
कि हमें गांधी जी की चीजों को आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए. बीइंग ए टीचर, पीस एजुकेशन को आगे चलाना चाहिए और इसको आगे चलाते रहना चाहिए.
we are privileged when you are teachers. We really have a place wherein, thank you so much, you elaborated upon how in a classroom I can be a better teacher, I can be a democratic,
Yes.
I can be empathetic. I listen to my students, I do it, as a women teacher. I have done this, I have solved, I have been friendly to my, especially my girl students. I have been very very empathetic, and I really went into their to the extent, of helping them. So that is the only thing which as individual we can do.
Ma'am,
And
I have
thank you so
actually,
much.
ma'am, I have actually a personal experience because I'm in minority, like I'm a Pandit, but I'm teaching the students of Muslim community. But trust me, ma'am, they love me a lot, they understand me a lot, and they respect me a lot. This is what I have feel and faced from my learning. They really love
Right.
me. So I can
See,
see we can work on
also, I always feel that so good that I'm a teacher, and in my coming, if there is a rebirth, I would like to be a teacher. Nothing like being a teacher, really.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sumit,
ma'am.
for that elaboration. Yes.
Very good morning, everyone. Am I
Morning, good
audible?
morning.
Good
I
morning,
can
ma'am.
hear. Good morning.
Myself, I'm Dr. Tina, an in-service candidate from the same college. First of all, thank you so much for this enlightening session, ma'am. I have just a small question from you. You just talked about a political leadership. Myself being related to the political background, I have a question that what is the relevance of Gandhian philosophy and education in conflict resolution? We see more conflict we are facing as far as perceptions are concerned. The conflict is all about perceptions. I think perceptual conflict is one of the major challenges across nation. So what is the relevance of Gandhian education in peace and conflict resolution? And
Yeah.
leadership actually come, those things, or it is just confined to the books only, the philosophy, Gandhian philosophy?
Because I'm afraid, I mean, I have been witnessing like since last 40 years, and I haven't seen any political leadership which has this wish to resolve even the basic conflicts which are, because I think they believe that these conflicts should be there, the conflicts on the basis of caste, creed, religion, region, because we are an electoral democracy, and they want to flourish on these differences. I think there are several conflicts are just because of this political culture. If it is not there, if the electoral politics are not, the vote bank system is not there, I think, Sumit said, he is a Pandit and is teaching the Muslim students, and they love him like a lot. But look at the political culture. There is always a divide of Hindu Muslim, which always sustain. So what I was trying to say is, if our political leadership could really adopt the Gandhian framework in their understanding and brought it forward, I think we would have been a better society. Perhaps it's my personal opinion.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Tina, for your question. Any more questions from the
Ma'am, this is Suresh Cole again. I
Suresh
just
ji,
want
come
to
on.
ask one question. I am a teacher. I teach in middle school. So I just find it very confusing why Gandhi is missing in elementary curriculum. This is very sometimes frustrating. Being a father of nation, why is he missing in elementary education, where we
Not
lay the
only that,
foundations?
it is missing everywhere. Where is Gandhi in the constitution? Where is he is in the higher education? There are simpler, Gandhian centers, and that is it. Gandhi is much more visible in in foreign universities than in your own university. In my university, there was a small MPhil center which had hardly 20-25 students, and that is it. Gandhi doesn't suit people, because it challenges you. It asks me to behave in a Gandhian way. If I teach Hobbes or if I teach Plato, nobody would just ask me to behave like in a Hobbesian way or a Machiavellian way. But if I teach Gandhi, they would, just, think that my whole behavior, my whole conduct should be Gandhian. So actually, Gandhi is absent everywhere. There is no value education, there is no moral education, moral studies at the level of schools, colleges, and at the level of university systems also. For researchers and for higher studies also. I don't know, Gandhi has not been given his due. We have not done justice to Gandhi. We bring Gandhi wherever it suits us, and that is all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Any more questions from anybody? Is there anyone more? Yeah, before any question comes from the audience, I would like to have, ma'am, your opinion on, we had this kind of incidents last year elsewhere other than in India, that Gandhian icons, his statues were just brought down, they were vandalized. And there were people behind it, and they too had some kind of, you can say, some kind of concern regarding Gandhi, and they didn't agree with certain of his ideals. Would you elucidate on that kind of a thing? How did Gandhi, you can say, the people who admire Gandhi, the people who love him, how did they take it?
Oh, definitely. Gandhi has really become an icon internationally, globally. And you do whatever you want to do. I mean, he comes back to you. He's revalidated every day, every time. Gandhi is as popular today as it was never before. Gandhi is as relevant today as it was never before. So Gandhi, you need Gandhi, as I said, to refer back to your basics of existence. Whenever I talk of love, compassion, harmony, peace, joy, happiness, anything, I refer back to Gandhi. So you may damage him, you may laugh on him, you may bring him to, very small, non-existent Gandhian things. People talk of such a rubbish things about Gandhi, his experiments of celibacy, they laugh away, but nothing would happen to him because he is eternal in the way, like, because everywhere you would be so amazed to see, because I've been associated with several international organizations, and Gandhi is so popular in world. Intellectuals really think seriously on Gandhian discourse, because the two prominent models of development, the liberal capitalist and the Marxist Leninist models, have failed. They are saying that they are pro people, they are pro poor, they are pro peasant, pro worker. It has come to a wrong side, and everybody wants to talk about this third model of development, which is the sustainable model of development, which is the appropriate technology model of development, which cares for mother nature, which cares for women, Dalits, poor, deprived. So Gandhi is actually becoming a third model of development at the level of intellectual and academic discourse. It is given weightage by the global intellectuals. So I don't know what to talk about these, foolish people who want to belittle Gandhi by throwing stones or inks or destroying his statues. Nothing can happen. He has become immortal actually, because he has referred and he has given answers to these basic questions of my existence. I mean, violence can only be answered with non-violence. What else can be the answer? How far you can go in violence? There would be one point then where you will stop, and then Gandhi would come into picture when you say, oh, this is enough, now I want non-violence, now I want peace. So now Gandhi has, and in this post-COVID era, believe me, Gandhi has become so relevant. Yeah, Professor Elahi.
I do agree with.
I mean, I don't have the answers. प्रश्न उठाना मेरी आदत है, उत्तर देना मेरा स्वभाव नहीं.
So we have one question in the chat box. It's from Pradeep Kohl. He says that is Mahatma Gandhi's, actually you are speaking about that, we're talking about that, is Mahatma Gandhi's educational philosophy. Now, one is life philosophy about peace and war and other things. Second is Mahatma Gandhi's educational philosophy relevant today? His basic education, his craft education and all that. So it's question from Pradeep Kohl in the chat box.
Pradeep, it is relevant, because now people are talking about this globalism, global plus local. So, I mean, I am not asking you to take a U-turn and go back from globalization. We are already globalized. I don't want that we become Andaman Deep and just stay in a corner. Of course, we have to cope up with this globalizing and technologically advanced world, but you have to take care of your local talent, local resources, local people, local abilities too. So there should be a balance between, and the societies which has established this balance, like I can want to refer to Japan and China. They have this balance of technology and culture, modernity and culture, global and local. And when I say local is important, then Gandhi becomes very, very important. So yes, Gandhi is important. This whole his emphasis, as I said, education of not of hands, but not of head, but hands, because you have to give work in every hand. If there will be no work in the hand, then those hands may pick up pistols and revolvers and bullets. So you have to give a pen in my hand, or a tool, maybe a kulhadi or a fawda, so I become a skilled labor and work. We are a huge big country. Everybody cannot be educated and employed. You have to focus on this skill education, the craftsmanship, the cottage industry, the Swadeshi, the village industries. And Gandhi talked about this, and now people are talking in this COVID era, people are talking about localism, organic food, eat the food which is grown in your own vicinity, eat simple, so work at homes. This is all Swadeshi, this is all believing in your own local talent. So now there is a time when, because otherwise, I mean, where would you stop? The way we were wasting the resources we needed, I think we need 3, 4, 5 earths. The way we are wasting water and we are wasting the resources.
True, ma'am. There is one more question from it is Mustafa Wazir. I would need to just, what was Gandhiji's philosophy for peace? I think ma'am has already delved on that point, but maybe he would want you to highlight certain points of Gandhi's philosophy of peace. What was it actually in 2, 3 points?
We were
Mustafa
talking
Wazir.
about this only, This is, living in harmony with each other, with oneself, with each other, with communities and with nature. This is peace. I have to understand that I am just a drop in the ocean. I'm not independent of this ocean. I'm important until this ocean is preserved. So I belong to you, you belong to me, we belong to each other. And this is the peace, we have just forgotten this.
One more point that has come on my mobile. It's a pertinent question. There is one more question on our screen as well, but I'll take this question because there is a great talk about vocationalization of education, and Gandhi has been an advocate of, you can say, basic education and craft education. But Gandhi's, as the student says, that Gandhi's emphasis was on localizing it, that your craft must spring from your cultural ethos. But today's upskilling and today's vocationalization is more about globalized, you can say, skills and all that. So even if India is catching up with this kind of a vocationalization, which has been a global agenda now, but it seems to be not in place with what Gandhi actually talked about craft education, because he wanted this craft to spring from your socio-cultural ethos. It is craft, but and
Yeah.
it is vocationalization, but it is a vocationalization which Gandhi would not have advocated or he would not have supported, is the question.
Right. It is a little bit, tough question, because if Gandhi would have been present today, believe me, he was the most revolutionary, radical, progressive fellow. He would have understood the challenges of today's time. People say it is obsolete, it's traditional, he's very conservative. He's not. So that time when he was talking was the time when village-based economy was in persistence. But of course, the I think Gandhi would have really supported this whole. I mean, Gandhi was the most globalized personality. A man who goes to England to study, works in South Africa, reads all the literature of Ruskin, Thoreau, Tolstoy, was the most globalized personality. So he would be giving, because you have to grow Gandhism every day. It is not something dead, which I give you in a platter. So Gandhi would definitely take this localism to the global level and would have this cultural based the vocational training and integrate it with the global scenarios. I perceive Gandhi as that.
Fine. It's very difficult because the globalization is putting a lot of pressure on our own economy, and then policymakers find it very difficult to catch up with what Gandhi and philosophers like him have recommended us. So
But
there is one more,
globalization not at the cost of local
yeah,
things, not at the cost of
globalization is something which is done by some kind of dominant ideology, and when you have that kind of dominant ideology behind it, it trickles down into your own country, and then it subdues our culture, it subdues our social cultural ethos. So this is what
So we have to be
globalization.
smart enough to think that in how much globalization we want, in which sector we want, is it costing me how much, that we have to understand. It is a wise decision to be taken by the government. So, and that is why I gave examples of China and Japan. They haven't brought globalization in social sectors or where
selective globalization,
selective globalization. Yes,
selective globalization. Maybe it's quite difficult for India to opt for it now, because once you have gone whole hog for globalization, then to taper it down, it's quite difficult in certain areas. You need to be quite cautious beforehand when you open up. There is one more observation. I don't know whether it's a question or not. It's not a question, it's an observation. It's again from Ashish Ban. Why whole world is not following Gandhi's philosophy? Why whole world? So this is a question for whole world.
At least I and you follow as much as we can follow. That is all we can expect. I mean, at least me be honest as a disciple, as a researcher, as an analyst of Gandhi. And whatever I can do in my small way, I would be doing. That is Gandhi, because I can't dictate the whole world to. But the time would come that the Gandhian followers are increasing day by day. And believe me, there would be time when we can say that Gandhi has been followed now.
There is probably one question from Imtiaz Ahmad Kohli. He says that are there any job opportunities in the field of peace education? He's actually asking a question that why not job opportunities in the field of peace education? Because peace is so much sought, it's so much required that there must be opportunities for peace in a country like India.
There are global openings. If you are, I don't know, your university offers masters in peace education.
No, not at all. We do not. We offer teacher education courses in our college.
Okay. But if there are global openings, if you're a peace education trained person, there are thousands and thousands of centers, institutions, NGOs who are working all over the world on peace education, conflict resolution, non-violence, environmental studies. Gandhi is really very, very popular, as I told you, and there are openings, there are studies, there are researches, there are projects, there is funding if you go in this field.
One more, there long list of questions. I don't know how many we can take. maybe we need to, you can say, choose between the two, or say that, okay, he was both. Was Gandhi a practical kind of a person, a practical advocate, or was he an idealist? Somebody who is an idealist is not a practical person. But if we choose that Gandhi was an idealist, then not practical. And if he's practical, maybe he's not an idealist. It's a
I
question
don't know.
from Manzoor Ahmad Famda.
I don't know. Is there any dilemma between a practical person and being an idealist? I don't know. But Gandhi was a man of action. He never bothered. And he always said that I have no ideology as such. I am not a philosopher or thinker. He was working. He amazes me, when I read Gandhian autobiography. He at the one stage he would be talking about individual. He would be talking about national movement, people's movement, Jan Sangha, Satyagraha technique. And at the other level, suddenly he talks about God and Adhyatma and spiritualism and other worldly questions. He just transcends between, today's world and the otherly world. Actually, Gandhi doesn't differentiate between individual, society, nature, and God. He is the par excellence advocate of this integrity, between individual and God. So he came into the picture as a national movement. After his coming into national movement, the national freedom movement became a mass movement, and Britishers had to go from India. That is his one contribution. But when he gives the ideology or philosophy or these eternal absolute dictums of truth and ahimsa, which are so relevant today, he becomes an idealist, or sometimes he seems to be an utopian, but he was a man of practices, he was a man of action.
Yeah, it's true that once somebody is man of action, he has many shades, or she has many shades. He or she would, at certain occasions, seem like an idealist, and at certain occasions, he would seem to be the most practical person. We have one more interesting question, and
And
because
to add to this, Gandhi said at one place, that I am his title of his autobiography is My Experiments with
Manifest
Truth.
Truth.
He's changing his opinion. He said, if I have two diverse opinion on one subject, please go with my second opinion, because I have changed my stand on the basis of my experiments and my experience. So he is rather ready to change his stand. He said, I am not a stigmatic or a person who is, as just said
Yeah,
in one
even
person always.
even the caption of this book, My Experiments with Truth. There are many people who take truth as given and granted, and somebody who says that I am experimenting on something which is eternal, so I may change tomorrow and I may change my opinion.
He
So
said, I changed, and go by
yeah,
my second opinion, because I've changed my opinion.
so that's the point. So there is one more question. This is from Saima Noor. It's an interesting question because many of the people around the world consider Gandhi as their spiritual guru. Then she asks, who is the spiritual guru of Gandhi? If Gandhi has been spiritual guru of many of the people around the world, even this time, in the present day, in the past as well. But who is his spiritual guru? Is there anybody, or
Look, I don't think that I can really say that Gandhi is spiritual guru to anybody. I don't know, because that would be very difficult. Don't make him a spiritual guru. Gandhi is becoming popular as a political strategist all over the world. His technique of satyagraha, and there are several people's movements, civil society movements of anti-radiation, anti-apartheid, of land, water, which are going on throughout the world on this strategy of. So Gandhi is actually adopted and by people, accepted by people as political strategist. I don't know whether anybody would call him a spiritual guru or not, but this is interesting, that who is Gandhi's spiritual guru? So
yeah,
here I have to say is that, Gandhi was greatly influenced. There are several influences on Gandhi, but to name one as a spiritual guru, I think I would be saying I don't know. But there are impacts of Jainism, of Hinduism,
I'm
Gita
sorry to
has a
interrupt.
great
I'm
impact.
sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt. Sorry to interrupt you. Shrimand Ramchandra ji, where the person
Ramchandra
Gandhi
ji,
ji,
yeah.
yeah, Gandhi ji
Gandhi called
whom
him his
follows.
guru. Yes, Gandhi called him his Ramchandra ji. but not as a spiritual guru, I would say. But yes, Ramchandraji was his mentor.
There is somebody who wants to ask question on mic. Please unmute and ask the question if you have. Will be able to take limited questions now. I think no question after this.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
This
afternoon,
is
ma'am.
Suresh Kaul again, ma'am.
Yeah, Harish.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I just want to understand, Guru Rabindranath Tagore gave him the title of Mahatma to
Hmm.
Gandhi ji. So what was the thought behind that title?
Hmm. What would be the thought behind this title? But greatly,
Given
you know,
yes, ma'am.
I don't know what would be the thought, but they were both of them were actually very much influenced by each other and had this, you know, this Mahatma must be given because I think the pedestal on which Gandhi was operating has really must have given this thought to Rabindranath.
Now, one more question. Is this the reason why we have not given Bharat Ratna to Mahatma Gandhi? Because we believe he is the above all.
I mean, this question should be asked to, I don't know, Bharat Ratna, and out there are small things for Gandhi now. And you said he's beyond and above all this. Yes, right. There should be trophies on his name, actually, awards on his name. There are several awards on his name.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Gandhi doesn't need this Bharat Ratna now.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Golan Nabi, 302. Okay, Gandhi's philosophy of education, stress as aim of education.
Sir, sorry, can you repeat, please? What is?
Why did Gandhi's philosophy of education, stress as aim of education?
I couldn't get you. Sir Eli, can you explain what he's asking?
Maybe I too could not get it, but somehow maybe he's saying that how did Gandhi's philosophy percolate in his aims of education? It's natural, but he's just asking, did it percolate into his aims of education, the philosophy that Gandhi had?
Absolutely, yes. Because the Gandhi's basic philosophy is addressing this individual. Gandhi knew this individual has greatest potential, and all other philosophies actually emphasize the systemic changes. Here is a man who emphasizes this individual, and how would you bring those changes without education? Education is the only way which can bring that desirable change in this individual. So it percolates.
Yeah, it's quite natural.
Philosophies, it's very natural.
That somebody's philosophy would definitely, I can say, channelize into his or her scheme of education.
So
Do we have
Gandhi,
Good afternoon.
yeah.
Ma'am, I had a question. Though we can see that either it's a political or diplomats or media powers, they just contribute to their part to facilitate the peace process, ma'am. But still the hatred dominates the situation. May we know the reason that either we are going on a wrong way to service the peace, or we are just forgot the ideologies of Gandhiji? Or actually, are they just showing that we are following, and in actual they are doing nothing for the peace process in the nation?
Yes, the last point which you said. They are
Yeah,
only pretending that they are followers of Gandhi, but their all behavior is just antithetical to what Gandhi thought and believed in.
yeah,
Because if we actually believed in Gandhi and brought him into reality, the picture would be altogether different as far as my own country is concerned.
Yeah.
So you have the answer in your own question.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
I think there are no questions now.
सर
No
बस
questions
एक
in the
चीज
chat.
बोलनी थी सर
Sure,
एक
sure,
चीज
sure. Go ahead.
गांधी जी के लिए ना ये 2 लाइनें बोलना चाहता हूँ उन्हें ट्रिब्यूट देना चाहता हूँ इजाजत है मुझे
Sure, sure. आप
मैं
शायराना
1 मिनट
होना चाहते हैं, so welcome.
सर बस सिर्फ 1 मिनट लूंगा आपका
Fine, fine.
I would recreate two line for Gandhi ji. दे दी हमें आजादी बिना खड़क बिना डाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल, आंधी में भी जलती रही गांधी तेरी मशाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Ganapati Raghav Raja.
Raja Ram.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Just hold on. Huh?
This is recreating the, you can say, atmosphere and the moment that Gandhi would live in his own ashrams. So thank you, Kamalji, for this last moment verse from you and putting it in kind of a rhythm as well. I don't know whether our speaker would be joining us or not. I don't find any more questions in the chat box. We have taken many questions. Maybe it is Taslima.
Sorry,
Anjum.
I disappeared. I want you to meet my grandson. He's Kushan. Say hello, Kushan.
Hello.
Hello. How are you, beta?
He was appearing, so I thought I'll just make him appear on the screen. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. That's great. Nice to meet this small chap, champion.
They are the future hope, maybe, Gandhi comes back in their form. So it was wonderful, Elahiji. I'm so happy that you brought me and, made me possible to meet all these students. They are so brilliant. These all the participants are so brilliant.
Yeah, very much. I can say we teach
And
them.
I'm so happy they are so much interested in knowing Gandhi and understanding Gandhi. Maybe we connect again some other time.
Some other day, because we have been organizing programs with Gandhi Smriti and Darshan, the director of the organization Gandhi Smriti and Darshan, and Veda Basji there, the program officer. He has been always a good sport for us, because our Gandhi and Peace Study Center was started in 2019. And since then, we have faced situations of total, you can say, lockdowns since then in 2020, now again in 2021. But somehow this magic device has given us the occasion to connect with people. So we have mobile phones, we have computers, and we have these learning management systems, Zoom and WebEx and all that. So this is great to be at your own cozy room, sitting there. Like with your own child there and just talking to people around the world. So it's a great occasion. So this is something which has been holding us together, even if we are caught in our own homes. So thank you, Gandhi, Smriti, and Darshan, for just collaborating and partnering with us each time. Thank you, our Madam Principal, Dr. Professor Ruhi John Kant, who is always at our back, just poking us to do more and more programs in many of the areas, and Gandhi being one of her area of interest. And as far as our students are concerned, I would thank them for their wholehearted, you can say, participation with their questions and earnest questions as well. And our speaker, Professor Vidya Jain, you ma'am, you spared your time and energy, and we just spoke with you, and it was a wonderful talking to you and listening to you. It was a great occasion joining with you for the first time. Maybe in future we have a lecture series. Basically, this was this year's first we can say lecture. So we are having many in the loop. Maybe again we'll be joining later in the year, in the fall maybe. So I thank Gandhi Smriti and Darshan again, you ma'am, Professor Vidya Jain, our Madam Principal, faculty of our college who has been a good support as far as these programs are concerned, our own students who have been there. Vedabas Kunduji, he has been always in touch, and he is always telling we could do these programs and we could do many other programs and workshops related with Gandhi, and the director of the Smriti. So thank you, everybody. Thank you joining us with our program today. And the theme of the program was Gandhi and Peace Education.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fazil Saab. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mm.